Hi everybody, I'm JayLeonardJ, and Jam Pedals just made me a custom-made multi-board to my specification. I did the unboxing on Tuesday. On Thursday, we went into the Jam Pedals factory and saw exactly how they built this thing. And today, I'm gonna break down what pedals I picked, why I picked them, all the cool tricks hidden in this board, and finally, I'm gonna blend all the sounds to show you exactly how versatile this board is. Well, it is the next day. I took this thing out yesterday. I just couldn't wait to open up that box and take it out, and it performed fantastic. Lots of wonderful looks from the band members. This thing really came out so much better than I could ever have anticipated. Just what a wonderful piece of equipment. And I have it set up right now with the presets I used yesterday. So this is exactly my gig ready, what I'm using to get the sounds I need to set up for this board. And so what we're gonna do is I think I'm gonna start off by telling you exactly what pedals I picked and the order everything is. And then after that, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about why I picked those pedals and why I picked that order, and show you exactly how I designed this pedal to really do what I wanted to do. There's some magic right here, by the way. That's, ooh, some good stuff, and get some playing as well. All right, so let's start off with the pedals. So we got on the very, very end here is the Wahko. It's their wah pedal. Oh, let's press the button over here. Very lovely, lovely. I have it in the third position. So if you go all the way this way and go click, click, that's where I have it. And I think that's where I like to have it. It sounds really lush and full. After that, we go into the tuner. Now, the way I have the tuner set up, it's a Boss tuner. And when I press the button, it's actually just a mute. So this tuner is actually always, always on. And I really do think that's the way you gotta do it. Especially when you're on stage and you're playing a note and you know your guitar's not in tune and you're playing a solo. What I like to do sometimes is just hit the note, like a note on the string that I know is out of tune, like this. And I can just look and see exactly how out of tune I am, and then get in tune. It's a way to get yourself in tune without, stopping your playing. You gotta have a good reference point of what's going on. After that, we have the Dinosaur, a lovely, lovely compressor. After that compressor, I'm going into a phaser, and I really love this phaser. It's the Ripple. It's a two-stage one. It's nice and subtle, but very lush at the same time. After that, I go into their Tubedreamer, a very lovely take on that classic green monster we all know. Oh my gosh, hear those mids, just bang, bang, bang. And there's another foot switch here, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. After that, we have a Rattler. Everyone knows I love the Proco Rat, and the Jam Pedals take on it is just awesome. After the Rattler, we go into the Eureka, my favorite fuzz that Jam Pedals makes. I love, love this pedal. Ooh, lovely, lovely, lovely. We have the Boomster after that. That's my boost pedal. You can see I have it right at the end of the front section of this pedal board. And it's actually one of the reasons why this pedal took so long to make. This is the brand new Boomster, so they actually had to finish designing the new Boomster before they put it on my board. Really lovely, lovely pedal, which we'll talk about soon too. And you can tell there's a little tone switch here, which really brings it to another level. Classic boost stuff. After that, we get into the effects loop. I have a switchable effects loop over here, and the effects loop is handy if you have an effects loop in your amp and you want to put this top row into that effects loop. And another reason why I really wanted effects loop is if I wanted to have like an ampless rig, like a direct to the board thing. So I could put like a Tonex, or I could put like one of those UAD Dream 65 or Ruby, or the Walrus ACS1, you know, those amp simulator pedals. I could put it there and then just put a direct box at the very end on the out of this board, and have like a really cool in the box kind of rig. So that's why I have it. But right now I'm actually going into this, the Tone King Imperial. So I actually have the effects loop off and just going straight into it. And yeah, so that's what we have. And then there's also buffers on the different ends of the this top section as well. So really, really cool stuff. Now let's go into the top row. So after that effects loop, we get into the waterfall, and that is a chorus. It also turns into a vibrato when you flick the switch. Now this is where the pedal gets really, really fun. Over here, Delay Llama. It's actually the older Delay Llama without the tap tempo on it. It is just analog goodness. Can't beat that. And then we have two right beside each other, Delay Llamas, and they're both the modern one with the tap tempo, and actually the tap tempo is shared on one switch. So this is the first one. And here's the other one. Let's turn that off. Now there's some funky stuff going on with this Delay Llamas, but I'll tell you about it later, all right? After that, we have a reverb. Another reason why this pedal took a while to make. Jam Pedals doesn't make a reverb, but I did want a reverb on here just, you know, as my, you know, one less pedal to add to this thing. So we ended up with a Mad Professor Silver reverb, which was just enough reverb to get the job done. It doesn't stand out in the way, but it just adds just a little bit of a pad to make the fingers a little bit happier. And last but not least, we have the Chill, and that is their tremolo. And that pretty much is the pedal board in a nutshell. And if you're wondering how it's powered, I pretty much just have like the standard Boss 9-volt adapter here. This thing doesn't actually need a lot of power, which is what makes this even cooler. I could use any pretty much a 9-volt battery or 9-volt adapter and it'll pretty much work. And let's go see, talk about some of the things I did here. So, I talked about the Delay Llamas. You might wonder why I have 3. I did a video on why I think I always need 3 delay presets, right? So I always want a slapback delay, and so I have a Delay Llama, the Mark II. It doesn't need a tap tempo because I always have it for slapback stuff. I think slapback delay is just wonderful. It's great for country stuff. And also if you just want like a lead thing to stick out without caking it with reverb, it just really punches out by having that extra repeat. Now, when it comes to the other 2, I always like to have on my board, I always like to have a rhythmic delay. So I use this one as rhythmic. You see the level's really, really high. And then the third delay sound I always like to have is just a general atmospheric one. More spaced out delays, but lower in the mix. You can tell that the level is low here. And it just kind of adds space to my sound, you know? Now, this is where the delays get very interesting. I do have 3 delay sounds, easy to go and just really handy, especially I don't have to deal with any presets. I just click on the delay sound I want. But for those moments when I want to get really, really funky and really go over the deep end, what I did is both of these, this Delay Llama here and this Delay Llama 2, not only do they share the same tap tempo, so I could always keep them in sync with the tempo of the song and have different subdivisions for them, but they're also wired in parallel. They're not wired in series. A pedal board like this, normally everything is one pedal after another, one pedal after another. But by having these two in series, what I can do is the delay I set here, the repeats don't affect the repeats here. They're treated completely separately. So I could have these really nice back and forth bouncing rhythmic tap tempos, sort of like a multi-head delay, only unlike a multi-head delay, I could control the repeats separately and get some really cool effects. I'll show you what I mean. Check this out. Let's go over here. I'm gonna put this on a quarter note, and let's put this on a dotted eighth note, all right? And I'll just make them nice and high and hear this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, bop, bop, bop. I could even do other things. Like, let's put that to dotted quarter notes, and let's put this one to like a eighth note. And then if I space things out, because I have all these delays kind of creating their own atmosphere around each other, it gets a nice, beautiful atmospheric kind of sound that doesn't get too muddy and like messy. Really beautiful. Usually when I'm dealing with multi-tap delays, they're with very clear sounding delays. Like tape delays kind of have a pristine kind of quality to them unless they're very deteriorated. And like digital delays, you'll have multi-tap digital delays. The fact that this is like analog and I'm getting multi-tap sounds when it's such a wonderful, unique sound. that I find so useful. So that's what I got going on there. A really cool setup that I really, really like. We do have the chill, and you're wondering why is the chill after the reverb? And I do it that way because if I put a tremolo before a reverb, it doesn't quite get as choppy and as like tremolo-y as I like. So I do like it in the end, and you could really hear that throb of the tremolo. It's a really cool trick. Sometimes I find if it's the other way, it's just you lose a little bit of the magic of the tremolo. Always put your tremolo in the end if you really want to hear that waviness. I think it just sounds better that way. Let's look at some of the gains that I chose. We have, you can see that Tubedreamer over here. The thing about the Tubedreamer is you can see that little extra little button here. So I like to actually set my tube driver pretty low, and then I can get some really good sounds with it. Oh, let's turn down this a little bit here. And then, when I want to go over the board, the original tube driver that they have, it has a little switch to increase the gain. And I was like, you know, instead of having it on a switch, let's put it on a foot switch. That way I can activate it anytime I want, and I can get that boost when I want, so I can go. I think that's really handy. I think that's really, really handy stuff. There are two overdrives that Jam makes. There's the tube driver and then the the Tubedreamer and the Lucy Dreamer. And they're both wonderful pedals. And the Lucy Dreamer actually has the boost on a foot switch where the Tubedreamer doesn't. And I actually went with the Tubedreamer just because the Lucy Dreamer is wonderful because it's very, very subtle and has this very natural response. But when I turn on that sound, I want to hear the mids. I want to hear that forwardness. And this one, it's not as exaggerated as some other like tube screamery like pedals. I think it's just perfect. So I went just with the classic Tubedreamery kind of voicing. I think it just really works well for my ear. But if you want something a little bit more subtle that doesn't get in the way, you might actually like the Lucy Dreamer. It's a little bit warmer too, but again, I like the forwardness of this pedal, and that's why I went with it. Now we have the Rattler, and another thing that is a benefit of having the two gain stages for the Tubedreamer is the fact that I keep my gain on the Rattler quite low. And the reason why is I actually really like the sound of a Rattler being boosted by this Tubedreamer. They just blend really, really wonderfully well together. And that way I could have like pretty much 3 different levels of overdrive. I have like this just light distortion. Right? And then I could boost it. Or I can have a more overdriven high gain sound. And a nice lower gain overdrive. Just so much versatility. And you might wonder, if you've actually followed me on Patreon and you've heard my reviews, I actually rated the Rattler LTD higher than the standard Rattler. I actually prefer the limited edition one more than I like the Rattler. But the reason why I went with the Rattler on the board is because where the Rattler LTD has this really nice compressed sound, because of the fact that the Rattler blends so well with this Tubedreamer, I feel like I can get that wonderful compressed sound just with this thing, with it sounding really rich and thick, while still getting the slightly more amp-like touch sensitivity of the Rattler sound. So I feel like I'm getting all my wants. I just think these two pedals, the Tubedreamer and the Rattler, work so well together that, yeah, I was like, don't worry, I don't want the LTD. I want this like natural, open, more the asymmetric clipping kind of sound of the Rattler mixed with this to get the sounds I'm looking for. So that's why I went with these two pedals. Let's go to the Eureka. Just a wonderful... I remember when I first played the Eureka, and I just going like, man, this is just such an awesome pedal. And you know, they make the Red Muck, which is a big muff style fuzz, and they have another one, the Fuzz Phase, I think, or Phrase, which is like a fuzz face kind of style thing. But man, the Eureka is just something wonderful. It doesn't really care too much about like buffers and circuits like something like their Fuzz Phrase would. And it can go from like woolly fuzz to tight fuzz to all kinds of wonderful styles of fuzz. It just made it a no-brainer to put on the pedal board. I love this pedal. I really think everyone should check out this pedal. I've really been a fan of this for a long time. Now, you might be wondering, you see how I have that waterfall up here on the top? So obviously I like to have the waterfall kind of in that effects loop area. That's more the traditional place that you put modulations, because you could really hear that effect. If I add like say this Rattler and the tube driver and run it into the waterfall, you're still gonna hear a lot of chorus, you know? Just a classic, 80s fusion kind of sound. So, people like to have their modulations kind of in the effects loop after the gains, because you can really hear that modulation sound. So if that's the case, why do I have the ripple, which is the phaser, before my gains? And the reason why I put the ripple before my gains is because it makes it more subtle. You hear more of the gain than you do the phase, but what that phaser does is it just thickens it up and it makes it like just really rich and really fat without standing too much in the way. And I'm gonna play it. And what I also like about it is with this particular pedal, the ripple, it gives you this like almost univibe-like sound without going nearly as overly over the top. It's more subtle and sweet and just right, just enough movement to give you that 60s trippiness without going too far, especially when I have it in the B4 position. Check this out. that's awesome. That's just a lovely, lovely sound. It gives me what I want with a Univibe, but it still gives me the phasery sounds too. Classic, you know. And then you put the gain after it to thicken it up, doesn't get in the way. It's just the perfect place. That's where I always like my phasers, right in the beginning. And yeah, I was close. I was thinking about putting a Univibe in that, what they call it, the Rotovibe is what they make. I was close to putting the Rotovibe, but I went with the Ripple just because I have the versatility. I can get classic phaser sounds, and it's a little bit sweeter. It's not as much of an effect because I already have a waterfall for something really bold. Sometimes I just want you know, just enough fade. And I also have the Dinosaur here, which is my compressor. And actually the reason why I put it kind of right up front is I'm using mine as kind of an overall smoother, and I actually just like to prepare a nice smooth compressed sound to go into the Ripple, just so the Ripple catches everything, just so it hears all the stuff that I'm playing. I think it just sounds really nice. Sounds really, really nice. Good combination together. Now let's get into the new Boomster. So the new Boomster is just a straight up boost. And it's a lot of boost. I always like having a boost at the end because instead of adding saturation particularly to my gains, what it does is just adds levels. So it's just good for solos, making them stand out more without making it sound overly saturated. Just enough, and then you can go, especially if you have an amp with a lot of headroom, you can give yourself some pretty massive boosts. There is a switch here that changed some of the EQ voicings. That's one of the new features with it. So actually, if I go here, you can either, I get a mid hump in my boost. And that could be a really handy thing too. Say I have this Eureka on. Let's smooth it out and bass it out. Then I turn on the Eureka. Very handy. It just gives you a little bit of a forward push. Really beautiful stuff. And then if I go on the top, it's going to kind of tame up that high end a bit. So if I'm getting extra picky, and I want to get more volume, but I don't want that extra volume to come with more like ear cutting stuff, turn it on. Is it neutral? Hear that bright end's really coming through, but if I just cut it off a bit, I get that, you know, I still get that brightness from that Tele bridge pickup, but it just doesn't hurt as much, and I can still get the volume boost, which is really handy. And now another wonderful asset of this new Boomster too is that I could actually hook up, and what I did here is I have an expression pedal hooked up into my pedal board, and then I could now, when I turn this on, I could use this to set as my maximum volume. This is now my maximum volume. And then I could use the volume, this expression pedal to be a volume pedal. really handy thing. So yeah, I could use this as a boost, or I could transform it into a volume pedal for my entire pedal board. And man, you could just see, just with all this combinations, how many cool sounds I'm just able to get. And that is my custom-made Jam Pedals pedal board. And just like that, my little 3-part series on this custom multi-board is over. Please check out the other 2 videos. One's just straight up unboxing and a little bit of a playthrough, so you could see my childlike joy and wonder. The Thursday video was the really cool one because we went to the Jam Pedals factory and we saw exactly how they built this thing, from the drilling to the painting to the circuit board hooking up. It's incredible how much time, how much love and effort goes into making these things. It's absolutely incredible. Now, actually, in reality, I unboxed this pedal. I got this pedal in the beginning of the summer, and since then, I've used it on every single gig, every single festival, every single live event that I did all summer, and it was a crazy, crazy summer. It's been a fantastic piece of equipment. It's been super durable. It's been banged around a little bit, but it's holding up like a champ, and it's going to be my board for many, many years to come. So thank you so much to the team at Jam. You did a fantastic job. That being said, I'll see you all soon. Take care, and goodbye.